Hello everyone. You blinked once and now 2025 is almost over. I am still making my way through Cold Steel 4, but I don't have quite enough footage to make it long enough funny moments yet, so I'm gonna give you some low effort shower thoughts to tide you over in the meantime. So I figured since the year is almost over, I might as well do like a sort of year in review, kinda like what I did at the beginning of, well, this year. I think. I don't quite remember. Anyway, I didn't really do much, mostly because a lot kind of just happened to me this past year. You know, with me moving twice. So yeah, some pretty big things happened. I would definitely say 2025 was kind of a front-loaded year. I would say the first half was better for me than the second half. Second half got a bit crazy, you know, mostly for personal reasons. Won't get into detail, but yeah, it was definitely a front-loaded year for me in terms of quality. I say that to say I really only played a handful of games this year. Once again, Trails is pretty much eating my life up, so the biggest game that I finished this year was of course Trails of Cold Steel 3, so I guess that's kind of my game of the year by default. Good game, don't get me wrong, I really liked it. It's not my favorite Trails game, but you know, it was pretty good. As I mentioned before, currently working through Cold Steel 4, so, you know, expect more on that. I just don't quite have the edited funny moments compilation long enough for me to release yet, as I said earlier. But yeah, Cold Steel 3 Game of the Year. I really wanted to say Senran Kagura Burst Renewal might have been my Game of the Year, but I'm kind of technically only really, you know, partially done with it because I beat the main story, but there's 3 campaigns to the game. You know, there's one from one perspective, another from another perspective, and then like a third one that I, you know, don't know much about, but it exists. So I'm not quite done with that game, meaning even though I really like it, I don't think I can in good conscience sort of put it there as my game of the year because I'm technically not done with it. But that's another thing I played and immensely enjoyed. There was also Armored Core 6, which I don't remember if I had played that. I don't remember if I started playing that at the beginning of this year or last year. I don't quite remember. It might have been last year, but I really started playing a good chunk of it this year as well, because a lot of that game does require you to sort of replay missions to get new parts. To help you in the story. I have found that game sort of being my, I guess, podcast game, for lack of a better term, where I'm sort of just mindlessly playing it while I'm listening to something else. But yeah, I played a lot of Armored Core this year as well. I'm not done with that either, so I can't really say that's my game of the year. I think the only other games that I played to completion, not just dipped my toes in, but like played it like to completion, was the pixel remasters of Final Fantasy 1 through 4. And prior to this, the only one of those games that I had played and finished was Final Fantasy 4. I had played the DS version of 3, you know, the 3D remake, but I had never finished it. And then 1 and 2 technically was my first time playing. Or is that right? No, that's not true. I hadn't touched Final Fantasy 1 at all. That was completely new. I had played a bit of Final Fantasy 2, I think it was the PSP version, in the past, but never finished it. And playing Pixel Remaster of 2 was my first time playing the game and actually finishing it. Final Fantasy 3, I mean, if we're talking not the 3D version of 3, then yes, it's my first time playing 3. Although I think the Pixel Remaster is the first and only sort of localization of the original 3 that's even available. But yeah, you know, Final Fantasy 3. And then Final Fantasy 4 was technically a replay. Although I say that loosely because I had played Final Fantasy 4, but again, it was the chibi-looking DS remake. But yeah, those were the only other games that I played and finished, and I'm currently playing Final Fantasy 5 as well. Hello everyone, Weapons from the Future here. I missed one, Sonic Racing Cross Worlds, which was a surprisingly good game, and I felt like I should go back and edit this in, you know, just because it's worth mentioning, because it was really fun, you know, and this is coming from someone who isn't even all that familiar with Sonic, and the only reason I bought the game was because a lot of people that I was friends with were also buying the game, and I'd be able to, you know, play with them. So I bought it more so for the social aspect as opposed to being a Sonic fan and understanding all the references in the game and such. So yeah, surprisingly good game. One of the most fun racing games I've played in a while. You know, it probably even tops, you know, some of the more recent Mario Kart games in my opinion. So yeah, just thought I'd go back and mention that. Yeah, really good game. Again, coming from someone where like literally my only exposure to Sonic, you know, I think I played like the Secret Rings as a kid. On the Wii. But like outside of that, my biggest exposure to Sonic was like playing like the fan-made Newgrounds games, and then watching the movies when they came out in theaters, and that's also partially because my brother is also a really big Sonic fan, so he would kind of explain all the references to me as well, like during all the movies. So yeah, as someone who wasn't really that big on Sonic, yeah, Sonic Racing Cross Worlds is a really good racing game, and you should try it if you haven't already. As for my plans for next year, first of all, there's the East versus Trails in the Sky sort of game night or whatever that I'm doing. That's literally going to be happening in a couple days, because I'm going to upload this video as soon as I'm done recording this. But yeah, I had mentioned that in a community post some months ago, but yeah, I'm still planning to do that on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. So I'll just be streaming that, and you know, if anyone wants to come in and beat me up, they can. You know, especially since I hadn't streamed that much this year. And that's another thing too, I really did underestimate, I guess, how busy I'd be with my new job, mostly. Like, it's not that the job takes up all of my time, but it takes up a lot, and then in addition to me feeling tired afterwards and me getting other household chores done afterwards, it does. If it was just me playing games, it wouldn't be that bad, but it's playing games and then also having the other half of that being spending time making content on those games. I definitely have found time management to be a challenge and something I'm still figuring out. I am looking into some stuff and seeing where I can be more flexible with that. Part of that could be maybe an increase in loose-lipped, no-script videos where, as I had mentioned when I first started doing those were kind of like, I guess, lazy reviews, where I do review a game, but I don't go through the effort of, you know, matching up all the footage and doing the fancy edits. I just talk about it cold turkey with no script, as the name implies, and then just put footage over it. So I might try and do more of those for, you know, some of the games that, again, I want to talk about, but I just can't find the time to just, you know, do all the fancy edits. Even though there may be games that I would like to give the full-blown review treatment to, but you know, gotta do what you gotta do. Another thing I'm probably gonna try doing, this is a very recent development. Here's generally how my pattern goes, specifically for Trails videos. And this has sort of been something I've been doing ever since I finished the Sky trilogy, because Crossbell was when I started doing funny moments, or that's when I got the idea to do funny moments. But usually it's been, you know, funny moments. So play the game, edit as I'm, you know, edit between play sessions. When I have like, you know, maybe like an hour and some change of footage after I've cut everything down, you know, release that and, you know, keep doing that till I finish the game. Then when the game is finished, I make a review and then Trails in a Nutshell, depending on which one's faster to make. Sometimes the review comes first, sometimes Trails in a Nutshell comes first, and then rinse and repeat for every subsequent Trails game. And, well, you guys probably already, at least maybe somewhat know about this if you saw the most recent Trails in a Nutshell video. It's just taken a while. Like, the games have gotten so expansive, and the way I want to present the videos have become so ambitious, specifically for like the Nutshell videos, that like I don't know if I'm going to keep that pattern up, which means, before you panic, that does not mean the end of Trails in a Nutshell, but it probably does mean what I'm gonna do is I'm probably gonna put the Nutshell videos on a lower priority, meaning I'm not gonna sort of put my whole back into them just because they take so long to make now. So I'm probably going to prioritize like the playthroughs and then making the review and then moving on to the next game, and then like do the Nutshell, but you know, maybe do it more at my leisure. Maybe write up the script so I know what to put in, but then all of the sort of tedious work like getting all the scenes, getting all the portraits, yada yada, you know, just sort of do that at my leisure, and then have the Nutshell videos sort of coming out on their own sort of timeline instead of like waiting to finish everything related to that specific game before moving on to the next game. I hope I'm kind of making sense there with what I'm saying, you know. Like I said, sort of put the nutshell videos on low priority. I do have quite a bit of space on my computer, so I can afford to sort of hold the footage for, you know, at least several Trails games, you know, if I need to, like long term, like sort of play through the game, store all the footage away when I'm done making the funny moments in the review, and then when I need to refer back to it for the nutshell, I can. So that might be what I might start doing, you know, as a way of being able to get through the series just a little bit faster, you know. I still want to take my time and enjoy the games, but, you know, the nutshells take so much time to make that, like, I might have to start doing that now, just so I don't end up in a standstill, you know, for so long between games. As far as my streaming schedule, where I was alternating between Ys and Final Fantasy XIV, I think I even said this at the beginning of this year that's about to end, that I was about to start Shadowbringers, because last time I played the game I reached the end of Stormblood's patch quests and finished the raids and the Alliance raid. Yeah, all Stormblood stuff has been done for a while now. And then with Ys, I finished 1, 2, and 6, so next up would be Ys 3, aka Oath and Felghana, which I heard is a pretty well-liked Ys game. I heard Ys 6 was the jankiest of the, I guess, of the Napishtim engine games. But I say that to say Final Fantasy XIV, because I was alternating between the two, is next. I am not sure when I am going to start streaming again, or sort of how I'm going to work it in, like on what day. It's most likely either going to be Friday or Sunday. It's probably not going to be Saturday. So I'm leaning more towards Friday, because I don't really know if Sunday is that good of an idea, because, well, Sunday, most people are probably going to be pressured to go to bed earlier because they might have to go to work or whatever. So it's most likely going to be Friday, but that's, you know, going back to Final Fantasy XIV and Ys is sort of it's a bit of a lower priority right now. I'm really trying to figure out how to sort of work the trail stuff in and get that as a sort of good enough rhythm before I worry about that. But it's not something that I've forgotten about. I've definitely, you know, I've remembered those, and, you know, when I figure out how to get those back in, I will. As far as upcoming games for 2026 that I plan to get, really the only two I can think of is Trails Beyond the Horizon, which I did pre-order that, so I expect that to be coming to my door sometime next month. Of course, it's going to be the rest of Cold Steel 4, then Reverie, then Daybreak 1 and 2, then Horizon. I mean, yeah, it's like 4 or 5 games away, so yeah, it'll probably be a couple centuries before I get around to playing it. But, you know, at the very least, I did pre-order, you know, a physical copy, because I like to have physical copies of games like that. Usually what I do is I get the Switch version for all the, you know, collector's edition goodies, because they don't make a PC version of those, and then I usually just buy the game on Steam afterwards, and that's the one I play and put the time into. But yeah, there's Trails Beyond the Horizon. There's also Code Vein 2. I have my sort of mixed feelings on, but I do want to, the game at least interests me enough that I do want to try it when it comes out. I don't know how long it'll be before I start making videos about it, but at the very least I do want to get it when it comes out and play it. Of those two, I plan to play Code Vein 2 at least next year. I'm a little disappointed that it's not going to be connected to the first Code Vein, but, you know, I'll go into it with an open mind and try to enjoy it for what it is. Oh, and I guess speaking of games made by that developer, I also haven't forgotten about the Blood and Burst Art tier list for God Eater. I have the Charge Spear one basically sorted out and made, I just haven't gotten around to editing it, but, you know, that one's basically done. I think after that, I have God Eater 3 Charge Spear, Buster Blade, then Boost Hammer, so I really ought to just get that done too, because, I mean, I've been doing those for years, honestly, but again, those are a bit lower priority, but I haven't forgotten about those either. So yeah, I've got a lot on my plate. Definitely have my work cut out for me. My really only, I guess, overarching plan for the new year, beside the stuff I just mentioned, was just, I guess, maybe be more consistent, try and get into a good enough rhythm, because I kind of struggled with doing that this year, partially due to a lot of, you know, changes happening in my personal life this past year. But, you know, I'd definitely like to sort of get that down pat for this coming year. I think I mentioned in the previous New Year's related video that I did for this year that I wanted to get to 10k subs by the end of 2025, which would be right now. Well, I didn't meet that goal. I'm pretty sure I have, let me check. I have, what, 6,800? Pretty close to 7k, just shy of 7k, which I think is still pretty good as far as growth. Didn't quite meet my expectations, but also too, I didn't upload a whole lot this year either in comparison, so it's like, you know, it's to be expected. But it's definitely something that maybe can just be met along the way too, just with, you know, more consistency. And with all that out the way, I think that's all I wanted to cover. So yeah, just wanted to get this out. One, because, you know, I did one last year and I think it's a cool pattern to keep going. And two, it'll tide y'all over until I have the next funny moments ready. So with all that being said, you know, you guys know what to do. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Sub to the channel if you haven't already. Special thanks to all channel members for your continued support. Much appreciated. Have a happy new year, and I will see you guys again very soon.